So the government shutdown's finally over. But for the housing market, man, the confusion is just getting started. Some data seems to point one way. Other signs point in the complete opposite direction. So what is really going on? Let's try and piece this whole puzzle together. And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Is the end of the shutdown gonna unleash this huge wave of pent-up demand? Or did it do some real, lasting damage that's gonna take months, maybe longer, to fix? Let's dig into the evidence for both sides, starting with the case for a quick rebound.
All right, so first up, let's look at the sunny side of things. There are some pretty strong signals out there, suggesting buyers were basically just sitting on the sidelines, waiting for the green light. The argument is that the market is ready to just pick up right where it left off.
Okay, check this out. This is our first major clue. Right as the shutdown was winding down, mortgage purchase applications shot up by a seasonally adjusted 6% in a single week. That's a pretty big deal. It suggests that buyer demand didn't just disappear, it was just on pause. And you know, that 6% jump, it wasn't just some random blip on the radar. It actually helped create the strongest start to the month of November that the market has seen since way back in 2022. So this isn't just a fluke, it's pointing to some real underlying momentum. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The experts are seeing it too. Joel Kahn, who's the deputy chief economist over at the Mortgage Bankers Association, confirmed this. When a guy like that says it's the strongest start in years, it adds some serious weight to this whole rebound theory. Another huge piece of the puzzle? Mortgage rates. Yeah, they ticked up a tiny bit to 6.24%, but look at where they were a year ago, 6.78%. For anyone looking to buy, that difference is huge. We're talking about a difference that could literally save you hundreds of dollars every single month on your payment. That makes a home way more affordable. And to top it all off, for the optimistic view, there's just more stuff for sale. Total inventory is up over 6% compared to last year, and new listings are up too. More choice for buyers usually means less of that crazy cutthroat competition. So, the case for a rebound looks pretty solid. But that's only half the story. Now we've got to flip the coin over and look at the other side, the cautionary tale. Because despite all those positive signs, there's a really compelling argument that the shutdown created some major headwinds, maybe too strong for a quick and easy recovery. This timeline here, it kind of paints a different picture, doesn't it? This shows what was actually happening during the shutdown. Pending sales were dropping, and get this, homes were sitting on the market for a median of 49 days. To give you some context, that's the longest it's taken to sell a house for this time of year since 2019. That's before the whole pandemic buying frenzy even started. The market was definitely hitting the brakes. Yeah, and Realtor.com's senior economist, Anthony Smith, he doesn't mince words about this. He says a full recovery is going to be a slower, weeks-long process. His point is that the shutdown wasn't like hitting a pause button that you can just unpause. It created real, tangled-up problems that are going to stick around. Let's see what they are. So what are these big roadblocks he's talking about? Well, it breaks down into a few key things. First, you've got government agencies that are just buried in backlogs, which slows down everything from loan processing to closings. Second, people are just cautious. They're worried about the economy. Third, there's been real economic damage that you can't just undo. And last but not least, all the political uncertainty still hanging in the air makes everyone hesitant to make a big move like buying a house. So, okay, we've got these two totally conflicting stories, right? On one hand, things look like they're about to take off. On the other, we've got all these serious headwinds. So what does this actually mean for you if you're thinking about buying? Well, this is where it gets really interesting, because all this tension might just be creating a very unique window of opportunity. And I think this quote from economist Lisa Sturtevant just hits the nail on the head. She calls uncertainty a double-edged sword. The exact same thing that's making some people nervous and causing them to back away is creating conditions that could really benefit others. It's a perfect description of what's happening. And this really gets to the heart of the dilemma if you're thinking about buying a house right now. On one side of the scale, you've got the risks, all that economic uncertainty, the fact that everyone's feeling a bit cautious. But on the other side, that same uncertainty is creating rewards. There's way less competition, sellers might be more willing to give you a deal, and hey, rates are still better than they were a year ago. It's a classic risk versus reward scenario. So, what do you do with all this? How do you actually play your cards right in a market this confusing? Well, the experts are pointing to a three-step strategy. First, stay alert. The Fed is watching all the data like a hawk, so things could change and change fast. Second, be ready to pull the trigger. One expert literally called this a real window for buyers, but it might not stay open forever. And third, be ready to negotiate. And really, this last quote from a Redfin agent, W.J. Yulberg, just brings it all home. He says if you're in a financial spot where you can afford a home right now, you should really think about jumping in. Why? Because the competition is low, and a lot of sellers are willing to negotiate. That's a strategic advantage that we just haven't seen in years, and it's an opportunity born directly out of all this uncertainty. So what's the takeaway here? In a market that's being pulled in two different directions, between optimism and caution, maybe the real advantage isn't about having a crystal ball. Maybe it's about being prepared to act on the present moment. Which leaves us with the final question. In a market this uncertain, is being prepared the only real advantage you have? Thanks for watching.